Okay, let's get going, everybody. We are welcome to the Breslov book club of Thornhill. We are in the book, The Garden of Wisdom, which is the story of the Chochom and Tam by Rabbi Nachman. And we are on page 283, getting very close to the end. I will find something else afterwards. And so we're at a very interesting point over here. What page did I say we're on? Yeah, 283. Yes. So let's see what's happening at this point of the story. It turns. I'm a little bit under the weather, guys. So I apologize if I'm not with my usual vigor. It turned out that in their wanderings, they came to a town where the aforementioned minister lived. That is the simple one, the friend of the aforementioned clever one. And there in that town, there was a true Baal Shem, miracle worker, who was well respected, for he did amazing things, and even among the noblemen, he was highly regarded and famed. Now these two clever ones came to the city and wandered through it until they came to the house of the miracle worker. They saw 40 or 50 carriages lined up there, bearing sick people. The clever one assumed that a doctor must live there, and he wanted to go inside, for he was also a great doctor. So he wanted to go in and meet the man. He asked, "Who lives here?" They answered, "A Baal Shem, a miracle worker." I don't. Miracle worker is not a good translation, but that's the word. That's the translation that they use in this book. A Baal Shem, a great tzaddik. Then he burst out laughing, and said to his friend, "This is the wildest falsehood and silliness. This is nonsense even greater than the fallacy of the king. My friend, let me explain to you how false this is, and how seriously the world is mistaken in this falsehood." So after denying the existence of the king that sent for him, and obviously that his friend Atam knew very well, he now comes to the place where the Baal Shem is, the big tzaddik, and he does the same thing. Instead of going in to see, instead of using his having some humility and going to see who this person is to try to understand, he has to laugh it off. He can't take it that there could be someone so great that's greater than him. His ego cannot take it. So he just makes jokes about it, right? This is constantly one of his hanhagas that he does. He always mocks and makes jokes of those who are greater. So this is what he does over here. And he finds himself in such a place. So Rav Arush over here lists, I think, something like 7 reasons why we need tzaddikim, or what it is that tzaddikim do for us, which is very important. Because we're going to see, I don't mind giving away the end, we're going to see that in the end, the Chochom, Imamish is in the worst place. He's literally boiling in a pit of sewage. And finally, in the end, he is taken out and saved by the Baal Shem, by the tzaddik, right? But in the end, it's the only thing that can save him. He's not able to do it himself. And in the end, the tzaddik saves him. So here, the fact that he's making fun and mocking the tzaddik is very unfortunate. And Rav Kivak actually says, which we're going to see after we finish this, that it's really chaval, because not chaval azman like Israelis say, but chaval in a negative way. that he, like, this could have been his tikkun now. He now came over here to the Baal Shem, and had he had a little bit of humility, right? Had just a tiny bit, and went in to see who is this person that so many people are lining up to come and see. What's going on over here, right? He could have had his tikkun there, but instead he mocked, made fun of, and therefore he had to go through a whole new level of suffering before he could come to a tikkun, right? So it's very unfortunate for the Chochom at this point. But let's see what Rav Arush says. If you want to follow along, page 284, we're going to see some aspects of tzaddikim. So first of all, it's important for everybody to know, this is, there's these two books by Rabbi Leib Kellerman, Lawrence Kellerman. One's called Permission to Believe, and one is called Permission to Receive, maybe? I don't know, they rhyme. Anyway, the whole crux of these books is to give you, is to show from a scientific approach, I think, and from a philosophical approach, the validity of Torah and Hashem, right? So he calls it permission to believe, because if you come from a Western way of thinking, and you went through university or whatever, and you want to believe in God because it's in you, but you don't feel like you can because in university the first rule is no God, right? So it's called permission to believe. And he goes through over there and shows how it all makes sense and gives proofs, sort of, that of the validity of Torah and the validity of belief in God. So here, I would like to say that this is right here, right now, this is like the permission to believe in Tzaddikim. Right? That's what we have over here. Page 284 in the Garden of Wisdom. This is permission to believe in Tzaddikim. So first of all, Rav Arush says over here that Tzaddikim is not belief in Tzaddikim. Trust in Tzaddikim, connection to Tzaddikim is not something new. It's not something out of the character of the Jewish people from thousands of years ago. This is the way we have always been, and this is the way that we are supposed to be, right? So we know that by Kriyas Yamsuf afterwards, right? We say it every day in davening, when we say the shiur shal yom, Oz Yashir Moshe, right? So one thing we say over there is Vayaminu b'Hashem uve Moshe avdoi, and they believed in Hashem and Moshe his servant. The Torah itself says this, not that they believed just in Hashem, right? And Moshe was the guy schlepping them around. They believed that Hashem felt that this must be said in the Torah at this very, very high place in the existence of Klal Yisrael. Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the sea. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'Moshe avdoi. From here we see that this is part of us. To have someone like Moshe Rabbeinu, a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu, that is our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't just believe in Hashem, we believe in Hashem and in Moshe his servant, right? It's like, you could say, it's not really like this, but it's like a deraisa almost, to have a connection to tzaddikim. It's not one of the 613 mitzvahs, right? But you see it's there, always. And we say that every single generation has such a tzaddik in it, has a Moshe Rabbeinu. You see that in the Gemara, they would call sometimes one of the rabbis who was very, 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 very unusually bright, they would call him Moshe. Shaper Ka'amat Moshe, they would say, even though his name is not Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because every generation has a Moshe Rabbeinu. Every generation has a main leader. And you see also that in the Rambam's 13 principles of faith, all the animamins, right? 3 of them are connected to tzaddikim, right? You have the one about Moshe, that we believe in Moshe and the prophets and the Talmidei Chachamim, right? We have this built into our system, right? So it's not unusual and it's not crazy to be very connected to the tzaddikim of the generations. And we see also something amazing. I think he's going to say it in another place, but we have a list of the tzaddikim from every single generation, going from Moshe Rabbeinu to now. We know every single transmission of the Torah that occurred from one of the tzaddikim to the next. Right? We have them all. We have such a strong, powerful connection to this concept of tzaddikim, and they were always there in every generation, right? when you think back to the tzaddikim of the past, right? You go from the Baal Shem to his Talmidim, to the afterwards the generation of Rabbi Nachman, and on and on and on to the Lubavitcher Rebbe over here, and in the other part of the world you had the Ben Ish Chai, right? And like tremendous tzaddikim going back, and we know who they all are. And so it's part of our fiber of existence. It's part of being a Jew, is to be connected to tzaddikim. And this is what the Chochom is making fun of. A Baal Shem, a miracle worker? Shtusin, what are you guys doing? You guys are crazy. That's what he's saying.
Rabbi,
yeah.
Who are the tzaddikim of our generation?
There's a few.
Would like Moshe Feinstein be considered one or no?
Well, he's not around anymore since the 80s.
Right.
But listen, at that time you had the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you had the Tosher Rebbe, you had the Baba Sali still at a certain point, right? There's always tzaddikim around. There's always a lot of tzaddikim around, and they're usually recognized more after their passing. But even while they're alive, there's plenty of tzaddikim. There's a few Abu Chatzeres out there now. There's Rabbi Shimon Morgenstern. There's what are you gonna say?
Tzaddikim have more power when they die.
I was just gonna say that.
And so when we talk to them, we're.
That's the Star Wars word. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's Rabbi Gustafson.
Don't fall on that track. That's not. We have to work together in this one.
So.
Okay, next point, page 285, number 2. The tzaddik keeps us on the right spiritual track. So, the tzaddikim are able to, he says, were it not for the tzaddik who shows us how to properly serve Hashem, a person could arrive at all sorts of weird extremes and eccentricities in what he perceives to be serving Hashem. Right? So I'll give you an interesting example to this, is that in the early times of the Hasidim, one of the things that the Misnagdim were very against is that the Hasidim at that time were doing some actually pretty crazy things. And they were doing things like they were doing ascetic behaviors. They were like harming themselves, like rolling around in snow and fasting for extremely long periods of time, doing these types of avodas. And interesting. I'm not saying yea or nay, right? But Rabbi Nachman actually said at one point, when Rabbi Nachman was younger, when he was like in his teens, his early teens, he fasted a lot, to the extent where I think in 1 year he fasted from Shabbos to Shabbos, only eating on Shabbos, like 18 times in 1 year, or something.
He wanted to get over the.
Right, so he was working very hard. He was fasting and fasting and fasting. And anyway, later on in his life, he came out and said that against fasting like this. He said that it's not good for the body. And had he known the power of his hisbodedus and what could be accomplished in his hisbodedus, he would not have needed to fast like this. And that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish in his hisbodedus instead of fasting like this. So this is one of those things where you need the guidance of tzaddikim to tell you how to do things in the right way, how to be on the right track. Right? So that's one aspect. Also, how to he says over here how to keep things in balance. How do I know what amount of time should I be spending? It could be the opposite of what you think. A tzaddik could tell you could go to a tzaddik with a question like, should I quit everything and learn all day long, non-stop, and trust that Hashem will provide, right? And not work, not have a job, not anything. Could be for that person, the tzaddik would say, that's not right for you, right? You need to work, have a job, and learn. Make sure you focus on learning in your spare time. But a tzaddik can help a person to understand the balance of their life. People, very different kind of people go to tzaddikim with different lives, and they don't all get the same answer. Because when such a holy person is able to see deeply into somebody, they can help them to understand how they should be living, very specifically related to them. Right? We said in the past that the Arizal had the ability to look at a Jew and look on their forehead and see all of their past lives, to see all of their averas, to see all of the tikkunim that they needed to make. That's what such a tzaddik is able to see in a person. And imagine how they can help to advise and guide a person. Actually, we just told a story this Shabbos about the Stipler, Rav Chaim Kanievsky's father, who met a certain Jew, came to him, and he was able to see on his forehead also something. It's a long story, but it was a good story. But it's a different existence, and they can help you in a different way, right? They can help us and guide us in a different way. So yeah, you could have another example is he brings over here is that some people may think there's often been between two different groups a argument on what's more important, Torah or tefillah, learning or prayer. What's more important, right? And people like to fight about this, right? And so, but Lamaisa, I don't want to. They're both super duper important. One of the things Rabbi Nachman says is you should always put those two things together. Whatever Torah you learn, you should turn it into a tefillah, and it should be sandwiched between tefillahs. But anyway, that's what Rabbi Nachman says. But what you do see from this is that there's some people who put tremendous emphasis on learning and not on tefillah, not on davening. And the other way around, some people like to go out and run around in nature and talk to Hashem, but don't sit down to learn. Right? And some do both.
They do both.
But we need a tzaddik to guide us, to tell us what's the right way to do. We take it for granted, by the way, that we have here now. We have so many generations of amazing Torah and wisdom and advice from all these tzaddikim, and they're all in the svarim that we have, the traditions that we have. Like, we have so much guidance and holiness that's been put into us, we don't even realize, right? But without that, if we would just laugh at those books and laugh at those traditions and mock them, like the what's it called over here, like the Chochom, we'd be lost. Who knows what we'd be doing, right? This is how you can have people that say, I don't need to go to shul, I don't need to do, I'm fine the way I am. I give a little tzedakah to this hospital every year, and that's enough. That's what I do. People have this. I have the thing that I do, right? I don't need to listen to the rabbi. I don't want to listen to it. Forget it, right? You're missing out on so much, a wealth of guidance and wisdom from so many generations. Unbelievable. So he says, as such, those who connect to the true tzaddik learn true emunah and avoid all types of fantasy and confusion that the freelancers, those without a spiritual guide, often succumb to. Okay. There's a lot of weird stuff out there, by the way. I'm sure many people out there think I'm weird, but there's a lot. For sure, some people do. But there's a lot. There's a lot of really weird stuff out there that people do. You could have I don't want to say because people will get offended. But people that take Judaism and turn it into, marry it together with other things that are maybe really shouldn't be there. I don't want to say. Okay, number 3. This is on page 285 also. By connecting to the tzaddik, one connects to holiness. Conversely, one who severs himself from tzaddikim severs himself from holiness. Okay, we have to explain what this means a little bit. The Mishnah teaches in Maseches Kelim that something that's connected to purity becomes pure. So there's a klal in Tahara that kol hadavuk l'tahara tahar. Anything that is like if you have an item, a vessel that is pure, that's been toivel, then it's clear. You could use it in the temple, in the Beis HaMikdash, right? And it has something that is actually attached to it. That thing also has the status of purity that it has. But we darshan that to mean to also that if we want to be people of kedusha, what does it mean to be a person of kedusha? It means that we don't live in we do only good things. We think good thoughts. We feel good feelings. Everything that we do is from a place of holiness, of kedusha, separate from all of the things, aspects of this world that pull us into terrible places and that pull us to do stupid things and down stupid types of desires and decisions. And rather, we are always connected to holiness, to good things, separate from all that shtus. One of the meanings of the word of the shorish of the word kedusha means to be separate, to be isolated, or to be what's the word I'm looking for? Like preserved in a place, right? So we want to be like this, right? We want to have kedusha. Kedusha means that I'm able to connect to spirituality on a higher level, right? It means I can see the world from spiritual glasses. I can be a person who has a whole different existence. Or do I want to be the person who just lies on the couch and eats potato chips and goes and I don't know, right? Or do I want to be someone who's plugged in, who's connected to actual spiritual things? How many people out there say, I'm not into organized religion, I'm more spiritual? How many times have we heard that, right? So be spiritual. What does that mean? I want to be spiritual also. Right? I'm trying to do both. But to be, of course we want to be connected. Don't we want to live on a higher plane? Right? So you can't do that without being connected to something that's pure, without being connected to something that's kaddish. So the connection to tzaddikim can lift us up, and if we don't have that, we're just grasping in the dark to try and figure out what to do. That's point number 3. And he says in this point, it's one thing to not go out and connect to a tzaddik, to tzaddikim, but to speak negatively against them is like a whole nother problem. And this is actually what happens over here. What the Chochom does is he starts mocking and making fun of the Baal Shem of the story, the tzaddik over here. And this is the point where he gets sent down to the worst place. He's been on a constant descent. He's not doing well. But here, he takes a real turn for the worst, right? Okay, next point number 4. This is so important also. Belief in the tzaddik is the foundation of humility, right? Ooh. So everything that we're saying means that we're saying, I cannot do this on my own. It means I'm saying I'm not good enough. I can't pull it off. It's not within my ability to do on my own, right? Hashem wants us to be humble and wants us to be able to say that with no baggage, with no pain, with total love. I can't do it on my own, right? I need the help of the tzaddikim. It's interesting. I always used to. I remember when I was in university way back when, that one of the topics was that one of the things a lot of people talked about was that a woman should not be dependent on her husband, right? I know it sounds like it was from like the 60s, but I was in the university in the 90s. I'm not that, no, in the 2000s. I'm not that old. But still, this was such a topic, right? And I used to like speak up and say, I don't know what you're talking about. I want to be dependent on my wife. Like, what am I married for? I need her. I need her help. I need her to be my partner. I don't want to be married to someone that I don't really need. I can just go off and do my own thing. And what am I doing here, right? That husband and a wife should depend on each other and should need each other and should be able to say, this is what I need. I can't do it on my own. I need such a thing, right? With tzaddikim, the same thing. With people, it's very easy for people to say, I don't need a rabbi. I don't want a rabbi. To get connected deeply to tzaddikim, it's not for me. It's not for me. What do you mean? You got it all figured out? You know how to completely be successful in your life? You know how to make all the tikkunim you need to make? Do you even know you need to make tikkunim, maybe?
I think it's just a misunderstanding. I think they're just trying to understand.
Yeah, they may not even know. They may not even know, depending on. But then you might, yeah. But the thought is, I have everything that I need. I can do what I need. I can do what I need to do, right? And we, especially in Breslov, it's very, very strong. This thing with being humbled before to the tzaddik. There was never a rebbe after Rabbi Nachman in Breslov. Only Rabbi Nachman.
Yeah.
Not only that, most of the big Breslovers, they don't even call themselves rabbi.
Rav Kook.
They get mad.
Rav Kook.
They get mad if people call themselves, Reb Chaim Kramer, he comes here, if I introduce him as Rabbi Chaim Kramer, he's just Chaim. I tried to sit him one time up in the front by me for davening, and he wouldn't let me sit him there. He's like, no, I'm sitting in the back here, I'm fine. And I was like, oh, come on, you're a guest. All the guests go up here. And he got mad at me. He said, I'm sitting back here, and if you ask me again, I'm going to leave. Rav Nissen David Kivak, he's the one who we read all the time here. He could be the top mashpia in all of Breslov nowadays, right? So his closest English-speaking student was here 2 weeks ago, Rabbi Leventer, you remember this? Very special person, unbelievable special person. And so he told us, when I was speaking to him, he told me that Rav Kivak, so you got to understand this. Rav Kivak has a few different yeshivas that he's opened. He has many students. He was the Rebbe of Rav Itchemer Morgenstern. He was the Rebbe of Rav Arush. He's like very high, right? And he's connected to places all over the world. They're opening a new yeshiva now, right? Like he's a very big person. So Rav Leventer said that he sits, in the synagogue sometimes on Shabbos afternoon. He's learning or whatever, and when Rav Kivak walks in, so he would stand up, and Rav Kivak forced him to not stand up for him. Tell him, no way, you're not allowed. Don't stand up for me. And he's going to give it to him if he doesn't. There's a very strong thing in Breslov that we have the tzaddik, and don't give cover to me. It goes to the tzaddik. That's it, right? It goes to the tzaddik, and it's a very special thing. But it's to be able to have this level of bittul and humility, right? It's honestly, I don't think it's that hard either. It's something to work towards. It's a very special way to live. So, listen to this. This is so interesting. A person with no connection to a tzaddik is liable to feel that he has already attained perfection. He might consider himself learned, holy, or truly altruistic and compassionate. Once he meets a true tzaddik and he sees insight, holiness, and altruism far beyond his own level, his heart breaks in a good way, right? He asks himself, where am I and where is the tzaddik? This is the beginning of humility, right? There's another aspect. By the way, you see this with people who are tzaddikim like this. There's like in the story, there's lineups to see them all the time. People are phoning all the time, and they're nonstop. Altruism. We think we know what it means to have altruism. That we help people. We give of our time. Really, these people are nonstop. They have no life, no time. They have an amazing life, but they don't go out to play squash. In the afternoon, they're not going to the schwitz, to the banya, to have a whatever, right? No, they're nonstop. Their whole life is serving the Malchus of Hashem and serving the community. That's what tzaddikim do. A person might think, oh yeah, I'm so great. I got my name up on a few places where I gave money. I give a lot of my time to people. I help, right? And then you see someone like this. All of a sudden, you're like, whoa, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no clue. I thought that I was something special, not even close. I think we mentioned last week this very special quality that tzaddikim have, and it's especially mentioned and noticeable by Rabbi Nachman, that even when you go to his kever, that Rabbi Nachman is known to have the ability to raise up those who are low and to knock down those who are high. Right? So people can go over there and walk in, thinking that they have something special, and they'll be flattened. Rabbi Nachman will flatten them down. Right? And other people go, you see sometimes people coming, and this is like unbelievable. One of my favorite parts about Uman Rosh Hashanah is you can see there'll be like a young guy, an Israeli kid, maybe with a tattoo, and like piercings, whatever, standing in front of the Tziyun of Rabbi Nachman together with old Yerushalmi Chasidim, and the two of them are both crying their eyes out. Two of these people together, right? He can lift people up. There's people who are struggling so deeply. This is something that is really amazing. But why am I saying that? Because on the top level, he can knock you down, right? And this is something that Tzaddikim can really do for us, is they can help us to become humble. And as we know from Rabbi Nachman's teachings themselves, someone who is not humble, somebody who is a Bal Gaiva, who is arrogant, they're like a vessel that is already filled. There's no room for anything else to come in. So when a person becomes humble and is mevatel, all of that materialism, arrogance, anger, whatever it is, those things that are filling up their vessel becomes a big, strong, empty vessel that is ready to receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? So this is what the Tzaddikim can help us do. So he mentions on this point also, and this is something very important as well. He says, the belief in Tzaddikim is not easily acquired because it invokes stiff spiritual resistance from the dark side. Right? So we know there's such a principle in the world that if we're trying to do something that's going to be very holy and it's going to make us spiritually successful, so the Satan is going to see this, the Yetzer Hara is going to see this and be like, not on my watch, no way. And he's going to come and do whatever he can to stop this from happening. And he's going to make it difficult. He's going to make it a hard journey. He's going to make a lot of ups and downs in this journey. And it's even harder, he says over here, sometimes it's even harder than just belief in Hashem. Because belief in Hashem is a little more distant from us, right? But when it comes to the power, this is by the way, this is built into the system. Hashem wanted it that we should have tzaddikim in the world that can be a conduit to Hashem for us, right? Hashem is sometimes, well, at least for most of us, is a little too distant, is a little too big, a little too far away. And the tzaddikim we're able to relate to them, they're able to draw us in and give us a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Lest I sound like a, like I don't know what the word is, like I'm building up tzaddikim to be just an end. We have to remember that the whole purpose of the tzaddikim is to be a channel to Hashem, right? Anyway, so because they can help us so much, they can pull us in, they can pull us closer to Hashem with such power and can inspire us so much. There's extra opposition from the dark forces to stop us from becoming connected, right? So we all have to do, and people will start saying, "What are you doing? You're crazy, Sandra. You're insane, Vered. You're getting tzaddikim and all this, right? What's wrong with you people?" Yeah, and the old friends especially will be like, "Whoa, that person went off the deep end," right? And all those feelings are all there to hold us back, to pull us back. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's our own thoughts. What am I doing? Can I abandon? Can I leave that behind me and go here, right? Not easy. It's tremendous. Why? Because it's so powerful and can be so amazing. Okay, number 5, page 287. So he says over here, I won't get too much into this, just that we have commandments and to love and to fear Hashem, right? Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. And these two things are very important. Avas Hashem, we see in the Shema, we have every day, right? We say it, V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, with all your heart and all your soul and all your, what?
With all your heart, with all your might.
And with all your
resources.
You're a walking translation there, Yaakov. Very good. With all your heart, with all your might, and with all your resources. Love Hashem, right? And we know this is a big mitzvah. And then we have Yira. Yiras Hashem presents itself in a few different ways. One is the lowest level, where I'm afraid that if I don't do things right, that Hashem's going to give me a patch. He's going to make things hard for me, to wake me up, to get me back on track, right? This is the lower level of Yiras Hashem. It's also very good. It's a good place to start. We all need it, right? Then you have a higher level of yira, where you're, you could say it's more of an awe. You're in awe of Hashem, of the greatness of Hashem. You see how amazing creation is, and how you see hashgacha pratis and how everything happens. You have all these experiences that cause you to be in awe. It's called yiras harememus. And there's another aspect, which is talked about a little bit less, but it's that the word yira is the same letters as the word re'iyah, which means to see. And it means that just I'm so connected that I see Hashem in everything. Everywhere I look, I see Hashem. Everything I do is that I see Hashem, how it's connected to Hashem. That is a very special level of yira. So ahava and yira are the two channels, the two main channels with which we connect to Hashem. And in Kabbalah you have the sphere of Keser, then you have Chochma and Bina. And Chochma and Bina are like the two main transmitters down to the rest, right? So these two things of right and left, of ahava and yira, and then chesed and gevura down below, right, are the main ways that we're going to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, and he's saying over here that it's through the tzaddikim that we are able to connect to the ahava and yira of Hashem, right? Okay. Number 6, the tzaddik is a manifestation of godliness and the divine presence. Since the tzaddik's prayers are readily heard and fulfilled, he, in the words of the Gemara, the Gemara says in Moed Katan that tzaddik geyser Hashem mekayem, that tzaddik decrees and Hashem fulfills it. Meaning what? That we're all of us are a piece of Hashem, right? We all know that. I think we've probably said that in every single class we've ever given over here, right? We all have inside of us a chelak elokah mimo, a piece of Hashem inside us. But for most of us, it's very, very covered up, and we are not in touch with it, right? And certainly other people don't see it. With the tzaddik, it's so revealed. There's no bound. There's no klipas. There's no coverings. Everything is all the shtusin are removed. All the klipa, all the dirt, all the negativity is removed. Everything is. He's just batal to Hashem. So the fact that he really is connected to this piece of Hashem is just out in the open. So he's, in a certain sense, he's more of a revelation, a manifestation of godliness and the divine presence. And that connection also is what gives the tzaddik the ability to accomplish amazing things, to make miracles happen, right? There's no shortage of tzaddik stories where miraculous things have happened, right? I just heard a story today. One second, what happened in the story? Yeah, so no, I'm not going to remember it exactly. I'll try to tell it next time. Anyway, there's plenty of stories of tzaddikim, but the story was like this. Was that there was a guy. This, by the way, I should tell you, I was having a chavrusa with someone on Zoom, with a big rabbi, not from here, and while we were in the middle of the chavrusa, he got a call. This is like we were saying about being altruistic. This rabbi got a call from this one person who was suffering with a very big illness, and he needed to have a 3-way call with him and a big rabbi called Rav Cheshen in Eretz Yisrael. So during the Zoom, he had to pause and make this 3-way call over there. And while they were on that call, he told the story to this guy about how this person who he knows very, very well personally, how he had a very big health issue with his liver, right? And so he went to the hospital, and he was there, and he was very uncomfortable there. He didn't want to stay, and he needed a liver transplant. That's like the extent to which it was, and the doctors were like, yeah, I don't know, you don't need to stay here. Like, it says you can leave. You have to get a transplant, and you got to be put on the list, and so on and so forth. And so they spoke to a big tzaddik, and the tzaddik told them, do not leave this hospital. Stay here, do not leave. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, I have to go on a list. The doctors are telling me to go. What do you mean stay? How am I supposed to stay? Anyway, and this big tzaddik said, no, you need to stay exactly where you are. Do not leave. And so it happened that later that night, there was some type of accident and someone died, and they happened to be an exact match for this person. And that night, staying in the hospital, he got his liver transplant and was able to live. Right? Yeah. And these are kind of stories. I mean, like there's books filled with such stories of miraculous connections to tzaddikim. But they're revealing divinity. They're revealing godliness in the world. They're connected on such a deep level that the Shekhinah is flowing through them. Right? So this we want to be connected to. So he says here at the end, listen to this, that there's people who like the Chochom over here, who want to deny, right, the existence of tzaddikim, and wanted to deny all these stories. Like, it's just a story. It didn't really happen that way. People are just making it up, right? People say this, and so they might even say, yeah, I believe in God, but these stories about the tzaddikim, this is like it's called snake juice, snake oil, right? It's all false. So the point is, he says over here at the end, he says, those who claim they believe in Hashem yet deny the tzaddikim don't really believe in Hashem either. They know that it's ugly to speak against Hashem directly, so they speak badly about Hashem's servants, right? But meaning what? Like going back to the first point, Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe avdoi. Hashem wants it, that there's Hashem, and then there's Moshe, his servant, in the world, and that they come as a package deal, right? And if we don't believe that, if we don't connect to, we don't understand, and it's always been like this, we don't understand that it's like this, then it's ki'ilu we're saying, I don't agree with the Jewish traditional understanding of God. It's almost like saying, I don't really believe in God, if you don't see that this is the way it goes. It's always been like this. Yeah? Number 7, 288. Oh, this is very special. So we said this already a little bit, but there's a good little mice at the bottom here. The tzaddikim are the links in the chain of tradition, whereby Torah is passed from one generation to another. That tzaddikim preserve the Torah in its purity, guarding it against the changing winds of influence in each generation. Were it not for the true tzaddikim, the Torah would be watered down so badly, heaven forbid, that it would be forgotten altogether. So first of all, as we said, we literally know every single transmitter of Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu until now. We have them all. We know each generation, who was the tzaddik, who was the leader, who was the Moshe of that generation, and how they all transmitted the Torah like this. And through so many challenges, through so many, I have to just turn off this notification, sorry. Through trials and tribulations, through threats of death, they held on to the Torah. They stood strong with the Torah, right? The Asarei Harugim Malchus, they stood up, and the Romans and the Romans killed them, right? They were the torchbearers. They were the ones who held the Torah strong during the story of Hanukkah, right? When it was forbidden to learn Torah, what were the tzaddikim doing? The Chashmonayim, right? They were in caves preserving the Torah, right? In every generation, always, the tzaddikim are holding strong. When the winds are blowing a certain way and they're starting to change things, the tzaddikim keep the Torah strong and keep it pure, right? There's an interesting thing. There's a halacha. You see that two people in the shul over here, Alon and her son, are sitting at a table right in front of the bima. You see that? Yeah. And so when we had less space, we didn't have a table in front of the bima, and one big rabbi came to. He was called the a rebbe of something. I can't remember which rebbe it was. A rebbe came into the shul, and he said, "You must put a chair and a table in front of the bima." And I was like, we had no space. Like, we literally did not have space for it. So we ended up just putting a chair there. But he said, because it's brought down in halacha, and it's very, very important, because one of the first things that they did in Germany, when they started the Reform movement, was they started to change the layout of the shul to put, the bima for the Torah reading, whatever, in the front, like a church, to emulate the way that they did things in the churches in Germany, because we can be just like them, right? And so, but the tzaddikim of the time were like this. There's many other things they were doing, but this thing they hit on very, 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 very strong, and it came down written in halacha that you always have to have a seat in front. You have to have the bima in the back, in the middle of the shul. So that's why you go to an Orthodox shul, you'll see always the bima is farther back, right? And why did they do that? Happens to be in a deep way also that the structure of the shul, the way a shul is structured, is also based on the structure of the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan, right? And they, the Aron represents, of course, the Kodesh Kodashim, and the Bima represents the Mizbeach, and you have the Ner Tamid up there, which is like in the Heichal of the Neres. So everything, really, there's something much, much deeper going on, and each one of those, by the way, in the Beis HaMikdash and in the shul, have Kabbalistic significance. There's something behind the scenes as to why we do things a certain way. And that Tzaddikim held strong and said, no, we cannot change this. So it's a little thing to many people. But this is one of those things that they kept strong. It's unbelievable that the Torah, the Sefer Torah, has been in different parts of the world, in different communities, sometimes very, very isolated. And yet, when isolated communities came back, we see that everyone had always the same Torah. A couple little tiny letter differences here and there. But the whole Torah remained the same everywhere. Why? Because everywhere they were there, the tzaddikim were holding strong. And no matter what, are not letting the Torah become diluted, are not letting it down. They kept it for all of these generations. It's really amazing. Really, really amazing. Were it not for the true tzaddikim, the Torah would be watered down so badly, heaven forbid, that it would be forgotten altogether. So listen to what he says over here. This is Gavaldik. The Gemara in Kesubos tells about Reb Chia, one of the great tzaddikim of his generation. And he dedicated his life to make sure that the Torah would not be forgotten. So it was during the time of the Romans also. This is a great story. And people were very poor. So the Romans were outlawing Torah learning, and people were very poor and starving. So what did he do? Reb Chia caught wild deer, and he fed venison to poor people. He fed them with the meat. He'd then make parchment out of the deer skins. He wrote all 5 books of Moses on the parchment, giving each book to a group of children. And then after one group of children learned that parchment from one of the 5 books of the Torah, then he would switch them around so they would all learn all the 5 books of the Torah. This is how he dedicated his life to keeping the Torah strong. So, Roman persecution, everyone's starving, and he's going out and trapping deer and shechting them and feeding people. He's taking the time to tan and dry the skins and prepare them and write a Sefer Torah on them, and making sure that it goes to everyone he can get to keep it strong. This is what a tzaddik does. This is big stuff. Then he says over here, the sages were worried that the Torah was going to be forgotten. The Gemara says this, but the Zohar HaKadosh promises that by the virtue of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his holy teachings, Torah will never be forgotten. Right? This is brought down in the introduction to Likutei Moharan, by the way. This whole mice over here, that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai said that ki lo yishakach mipi zarei, it will not be forgotten from your children. And it's through the merit of the book of Reb Shimon, the Zohar HaKadosh, that Mashiach is going to come, he said, right? But ki lo yishakach mipi zarei means that it will not be forgotten from the mouths of your children. Is the Rashi Tevis, if you take that, either Rashi Tevis or Savi Tevis, of Yochai, right? So who's the Zera of Yochai? Is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That pasuk that says it won't be forgotten from your children. It means because of your children, because of your child Yochai, the Torah will not be forgotten. Right? Shimon Bar Yochai was one of these tzaddikim that can you believe it? That now here we are, 2,000 years later, we're making a big bonfire and kumzitz for Lag BaOmer in honor of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who kept the Torah alive through all these generations. Then after him came the Baal Shem Tov, 16 centuries after Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Chia. And what did the Baal Shem Tov do? He taught that even, it's important to know, if you just grew up hearing stories about the yeshivas, you'd think that every single person in Europe 200 years ago was a super genius, just sitting in yeshiva. That's all anyone did ever, right? It happens to be that it was not like that at all, and people were impoverished, and many Jews at the time were illiterate, and they knew some prayers, they knew some tefillahs, right? And only if you had a town, with a bunch of yidden in it, if there was one or two of the young men who were particularly brilliant, they would be sent maybe to the big city where there was a yeshiva, or the biggest, the town a few towns over where they had a yeshiva to study. But really, the people in general were poor, were hungry, were pretty much illiterate, and were facing pogroms all the time. It was a terrible existence. It was a very, very difficult time. And the Baal Shem Tov came along and taught that every single Jew, even if you're repairing a wagon wheel, even if you're a farmer, you can connect to Hashem on the deepest level. You can have Torah, you can have mitzvahs, you can have tefillah, even to the level of a great tzaddik. Even through, it's funny that we're learning the story now, but the Baal Shem Tov taught that even through tremendous simplicity, you could connect to Hashem on the deepest levels. Right? So the Baal Shem Tov also kept the Torah and kept us strong in this way. And he doesn't say it here, maybe it's from the other side, but also, in the times before the Second World War, and maybe 100 years before that, things were very difficult in Europe, and things were getting bad, and the Enlightenment movement was causing a lot of people to go off, right, and to assimilate, and also the Olam HaYeshivas, right, the Lithuanian yeshiva system also did something amazing, and really kept the giant body of Talmudic scholarship very, very strong and very, very powerful, and kept producing great leaders and more yeshivas and built it up and came out with ingenious interpretations and understandings of the whole Talmud, that people didn't have revealed and written down before. So they also kept Torah alive throughout those generations, and even up until nowadays, we have people that are sacrificing, people that are doing everything they can for Torah and working and keeping it strong, and we see that in our time there's crazy stuff happening in the world, and that has never happened before, and morality is being turned on its head. What's right is wrong, what's left is right, and we see that Baruch Hashem, the tzaddikim are not going to move. It's not going to happen. They're going to hold Torah strong, and they're not going to fall down over here. Happens to be, as we said that, I think he brings it at some point over here, but one of the things that the Torah tells us about tzaddikim and the rabbanim is that we have to listen to the tzaddikim even if they tell us that right is left and left is right. And just think about what's going on out there now. You could literally be in certain places right now where it's as if they're telling you that right is left. And if you don't agree with me that right is left, then I'm canceling you, I'm silencing you, I'm maybe physical violence, I'm going to scream at you, you can't, right? This is what it's like out there. So I'm told. I haven't met any of these people, but
It makes sense.
right? So it's not much like this. It's like totally reversed. Everything's crazy. The whole world is insane, right? But the tzaddikim are going to hold on. You'll see for sure. No shilas. Tzaddikim are going to hold on, and they're not going to give in. So that takes us to page 289 over here. I thought we would get through. I talked too much, basically. That's what happened. I thought
Finish it yet.
I thought we would get through some more, but and there's some amazing stuff over here also in Rav Kivak.
I need a summer.
But I think 1 second.
So tough.
Yeah, we'll hold it there. We're at 55 minutes. It's a good place to stop. So, as we usually do, does anybody have any comments or questions, bits of wisdom?